This is Dumbed Down Life number 55. There are these two guys driving a car when the guy driving blows right through a red light. "Man, you just went through a red light," the passenger said. "Don't worry, my brother does that all the time," said the driver. Well, they continue to drive when the guy flies through another stoplight. "You ran another!" "You're going to get us killed," exclaimed the passenger. "Don't worry, my brother does this all the time," the driver said. After a while they came to a green light, and the car came to a screeching halt. "Why are you stopping?" said the passenger. The driver turned around and said, "Because my brother might be coming."
I hear bored people.
From my problems, it's the only way that I can solve them. Yeah. So what about me? Used to be a sane man, I'm not the same man. I think I need to get away on a vacation, clear my head and get space, find myself another place. But I really don't like that shade. It's too hard to tell when it's fake, when you're around it every day. Taking a vacation from my problems, it's the only way that I can solve them. And I say, so what about you? So what about me? Taking a vacation from my problems, it's the only way that I can solve them. And I say, so what about you? So what about I used to wear a smile, ain't nobody seen it in a while. This situation's messing with my style, man, but I can't blame it all on you, cause the tango it takes. No, I don't wanna be the bad guy. Honestly, I'm tired of the drive-by fights, they're always unexpected. I'm feeling neglected and shot down. Are you ever gonna get a vacation from my problems? The only way that I can solve them. The only way. What about me? From my problems. Yeah. You're really not getting it. 8367819. You hit the right digits, but you call the wrong time. I'm on a vacation. Said I'm on a vacation. If you got something to say, well, yeah. I'm on a vacation. Yeah, I'm on a vacation. Oh, taking a vacation from the club. Yeah, it's the only way that I can solve. It's the only way. What about vacation from my problem? It's the only way that I can solve them. The way that I can solve them. So what about you? So what about me? Taking a vacation from my problems. It's the only way that I can solve them, man. So what about so what about me? I mean, what about me? What about me? What about me? What about me? What about me?
So how did your driving test go then, Doug?
Well, the good news is I passed.
Excellent. Well done.
Yeah. And I now know why there are so many stupid drivers on North Carolina Road. Do you know how long my road test lasted?
No.
7 minutes.
For
you're
goodness
joking.
sake.
No, seriously, 7 minutes. Of course, I got the fucking driving examiner from hell. I first got in there, and I
You got in the right side, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yeah, that was a good thing. But I first got in the test centre, and I said, I've got an appointment booked for 9:30, and the lady behind the desk said, "No, you haven't."
Good start.
And she kept telling me, "Well, we don't have anything down for you." And I kept telling her, "Well, I rang last week and booked it for Thursday this morning." So she went and got me the book and showed me 9:30 in the book, as if I didn't understand what it was she was telling me. I said to her, "I understand perfectly well what you're telling me. I can see it." I said, "But I booked it." At which point, Bob, being the good politician, stepped in and stopped me getting into a proper argument. Again, she said, "Well, is there anything else we can do? Can we wait?" or something like that. And the lady behind there said, "Yeah, sure. You'll only be about 15 minutes.
So
Didn't you tell me that in the first place to let me get into an argument with you? But then I went and sat down, and I got this grumpy old guy with all my documents to fill everything out and put my name in, all that lot. And he really was a miserable bastard. And then you kind of have to do this eye test where you put your head up against the machine. As you put your head up against it, the button turns a load of signs and letters and stuff on. You have to read them off, and you have to read the road signs and tell him what they are. Then you go and sit and do a theory test at a computer, which was a doddle. I think I got 23 out of 25. I can't remember the two I got wrong, but... So then I stood waiting where he told me to wait once I'd finished it, and he and this woman were stood there talking, and I'm stood there being polite and patient, and they just carried on talking and completely ignored me. And then she kind of glanced over at me in this really disgusted look and turned to him, and basically I think she said, "Who's that?" At which point he kind of leaned into her, mumbled something in her ear, and walked off. I'm like, fuck's sake. So then this woman said to me, she said, "Come and sit down at number 1, I'll deal with it."
Hello?
Like, "Oh." So, hello?
What's up, Lance?
We've lost Lance.
Yes. Typical, we got, hello? It's disappeared.
Sorry, my earphones are playing up, sorry.
Mr.
Everything
Grimsdale,
just suddenly
hello?
went silent. But I'm back now.
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Right, good.
Yeah,
Should I
no,
carry
just
on?
everything suddenly went silent. All I got was mumbled something and then fucked off. Everybody laughing, and then it just went completely silent.
Well,
Hence the, hello? Mr. Grimsdale?
so anyway, she said to me, "Come sit down at number 1 and I'll deal with you." And she's doing all the paperwork, and at one point she turned to me and said, "So do you actually have a North Carolina driving license?" And I'm like, "No." And she said, "Oh, so you're going to need a road test then?"
Well, isn't that
That's
why I'm
actually
here?
why I'm here, but... So then she pretty much ignored me for about the next 10 minutes while she discussed not having a sweater, discussed what the weather was like outside, took some bonbons off of one of the women next to her, and was generally pretty ignorant, I have to say. So then anyway, we went off and we went to take the driving test. And she did all the checks around the car first, make sure everything is working and all that lot. And because in this case I did it in my own car, I didn't do it in an examiner's car or anything, or a test instructor's car. So we pulled out the test centre, we turned right, we drove maybe 100 yards, turned left, drove maybe 300 yards, turned right, then drove about 10 feet and turned left. Then she asked me to pull over. She asked me to do a turn in the road, which of course...
It's a bit easy up there, yeah.
So I did a turn in the road. Then she asked me to reverse. I reversed for maybe 3 feet. And this is in a straight line, by the way. So I reversed for about 3 feet. And then she said, "Okay, I'm going to ask you to drive forward. And when I say no, I'd like you to perform an emergency stop." I got up to maybe 11 miles an hour. And she said, "Now." So I had to do an emergency stop from 11 miles an hour. And then we went back to the test centre, and that was it.
Oh, God.
And the worst thing was, we got back to the test centre, and there was one bit in the US at stop signs, you have to come to a complete stop.
Yeah.
And I came to this one stop sign, and I'd kind of stopped, but I was actually creeping forward a little so I could see out at the junction.
Yeah.
At which point she said to me, "A complete stop, please, sir." And, you know, obviously, you're not going to say, well, actually, I was just rolling. Best just to shut the fuck up and do what they say. So I did.
You finally learned.
Oh, thanks, lads. That's so nice of you to comment on that. But I kind of worried that maybe that would fail me, because they're pretty fussy about the whole stop sign thing. You can actually get, when you have your license, you can get prosecuted quite badly for not stopping at a stop sign. So we got back to the test centre, and she kind of flicked her belt off, and she said, meet me back at my desk, and just got out the car. And I'm like, fucking hell. Shit, I've failed. I can't believe it. The easiest driving test in the world, and I managed to monkey it up. So I went and sat down at a desk, and she didn't say a fucking word to me. Not for ages. And I'm sat there and I'm sweating. I'm nervous because, I mean, despite having nearly 20 years of driving experience and the American driving test being probably the simplest fucking thing in the world, I was really nervous because I was real proud to have passed my English test first time. I didn't want to fail the American one because that would have been embarrassing, frankly. So I sat there and I must have sat there for 10 minutes. And then she said to me, that'll be $4, please. So I got my money in. I said to her, so did I pass? And she said, yeah, of course you passed, honey. She said, I wouldn't charge you money if you didn't pass. I'm like, well, thanks for fucking letting me. You could have told me when we pulled back at the test centre. So I paid me $4. Then I got my licence printed. So I'm now completely fucking legal. I have a North Carolina driving licence. I'm fully insured, and that's grand. But I have to say, and I do hope the people from the test centre are listening, you are the most miserable bastards I have ever met. Truly, you are. I mean, I understand they have to be serious because, you know, it's a serious thing. But in the UK, when I took my test, I mean, you guys will know, the UK test lasts 30, 45 minutes. You have to do all your manoeuvres and you have to get them right. And my driving test examiner in the UK, he was serious. He was focused, but he was polite and he was friendly, you know. Yeah. Everybody I dealt with at that test centre was just unbelievably rude, incredibly ignorant, and just gave off the whole impression that they truly didn't want to be there, you know. That they'd rather be doing something else, which I'm sure they would, but, you know, they're getting paid for it, so shut the fuck up and smile, you know?
Get the fuck out of here. You guys made it through a whole year without someone taking a pot shot at your skull and killing you? Well, I guess congratulations are in order, and my snipers are fired. This is Scott Sigler, author of Infected and Contagious. Find out more at scottsigler.com, and if you happen to be a sniper who can actually hit a target such as podcasters, go ahead and email me, scott@scottsigler.net, because I'm hiring.
Yeah. The last time I had to do a driving test was the motorcycle test, and we spent the day down in Tunbridge and was riding around Tunbridge. When it came to my test, it's only a one-way radio, so the examiner is riding a bike sort of 50 yards behind me, and he gives me instructions over the radio. And he was giving the whole commentary like, where the hell does she think she's going? Oh, what an idiot. What's he doing? And I'm thinking, is he talking about me? What the hell is he doing? What's he doing? But, yeah, that was the last time I had a driving test. Passed that first time as well. I'm actually quite looking forward to doing my American driving test.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak.
More so now.
Well, I mean, I can't speak for every state, of course, but I do understand that as a general rule, they're pretty much all the same. And Darren, it is phenomenally easy. Like I say, a blindfolded monkey could have passed that test. And I truly now I understand. I mean, I've always complained that American drivers are much, much worse than British drivers. And I don't know that they are really. I think they're less considerate. They're certainly more selfish. I mean, if you watch American drivers park, they'll abandon their vehicle wherever is most convenient for them and fuck everybody else. They don't tend to indicate, and they do tend to pretty much drive for themselves and nobody else. So I do think overall they're worse than British drivers, although, believe me, they're really bad British drivers. But now I truly understand why they're, even sometimes the simplest of manoeuvres seem difficult for them now. I mean, you watch people, and I hate to sound sexist, and I don't mean to sound sexist, but maybe I am. You watch these women in these fuck-off big SUVs try and park in a car park, And quite frankly, you could video it, put music to it. It'd be a great comedy video, you know, because it's just embarrassing. And you think, if you can't drive the damn thing, buy a smaller car, you know?
But the problem is, you see, they probably took their test in a smaller car. Then hubby goes out and buys this bloody great big SUV thing for them, and they've got no idea how to drive it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, all round, I like I say, truly, it opened my eyes taking the test. Frankly, it's ridiculous, and I'm not surprised there are more deaths on North Carolina roads, because the driving test proves nothing more than the fact that you can sit in the driver's seat and push an accelerator pedal, you know? It certainly doesn't prove that somebody's safe enough to drive on the road, and I was staggered. I mean, I'm glad, you know, it makes my life easy. I've got a license now, and I'm completely legal, but...
Does prove you can stop in a hurry at 11 miles an hour, though?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's crucially important because, you know, all of North Carolina roads only go 11 mile an hour. I mean, if I remember rightly, in the UK test, you have to do an emergency stop from 30 mile an hour.
I think so,
I'm
yeah.
not sure if it's from 30, but it's certainly faster than 11.
It's sort of making reasonable progress down a normal road, isn't it, when they sort of suddenly go stop?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not you've just pulled off.
Yeah.
The worst one was as well when I did my reverse up the road. And like I say, I mean, in the UK, you guys know, you have to do parallel parking, you have to do reverse round a corner. Well, this wasn't. This was reversing for 3 feet in a straight line.
Which proves you know where reverse gear is.
And as well, there's a specific way you're meant to do it. You're meant to steer with your left hand and look behind you, which is actually ridiculous because you can't get full lock with just your left hand without palming the wheel. So it's actually a really bad way to teach people to reverse, frankly. But I put the vehicle in reverse and I had hold of the steering wheel and I glanced over my right shoulder to check behind me was clear. At which point she said, "No, that's wrong." So I'm thinking, okay, what have I missed here? So I thought, well, I don't know, maybe I meant to put my hazards on. So I put my hazard lights on. She went, "No." And I sat there thinking about it. I'm like, and then she said, "It's your position." And I'm like, oh, okay then. So I then turned around and put my left hand on the wheel and turned my body. And she's like, "That's right." And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I know that's right. I hadn't started fucking reversing yet. I was checking behind me before I started moving. And yet, apparently she thought I was doing it wrong. And it's like, why don't you just fucking wait till I actually start reversing before you start telling me I'm doing it wrong? I mean, judging by the age of her, I've probably been driving longer than she fucking had.
Hey Lance, play us another tune, please.
She's my dirt junkie.
I remember when I took my driving test, I actually failed my first one. Can't remember why I failed, but I failed. And on my second one, came out of the... Did you take your driving test at the Dennington Road test centre, Doug?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes I did.
So I pull out of the Dennington Road test centre, turn right. So going round the industrial estate, and you come to that T-junction, and you turn right again. You're going up to, I think it's Doddington Road, isn't it?
That's right, past the school.
That's it. Well, yeah, turn right and going up towards Doddington Road, you come to the T-junction of Doddington Road, and you turn right there, heading back down towards the school. On that right turn, Lord knows how, because it's quite a wide road, I clip the curb. Right? Yeah, pull across the road, go to turn right, and clip the curb on the far side. So, of course, straight away I'm thinking, oh, fuck it, that's it again. Failed again second time. Bollocks. So, of course, you relax. Because you know you failed, so you're no longer under the sort of stresses of being in an exam, because you've convinced yourself that you failed. So I relaxed, drove absolutely flawlessly for the rest of the test, and ended up passing.
Uh-huh.
Which I was amazed I passed, actually. I didn't do very well at all.
I'm amazed I passed as well. I've been in a car with you.
Well, yeah, I haven't tried to kill you a couple of times.
With my driving test, came out of the driving test centre, went down the main road, no problems, and the examiner said, I want you to take the next turning on the right. I checked in my mirror, pulled over behind the car in front of us, who was also turning right. The car in front turned right and smacked into a parked car. Oh my God. So I'm now sat in the middle of the road waiting to turn right. He's got out and he's having an argument with the guy who was sat in the car that he's just hit. And I've said, do you want me to pull back onto the road? He says, well, no. Can you just drive around and put two wheels up on the curb? I said, I'm not supposed to do that. And he said, yeah, you're not supposed to drive away from an accident either, but we will. It's like, okay.
I actually did all right on my UK driving test. The only thing I dropped a point on was doing the turning the road, where they take you in Wellingborough, and I'm sure they probably took you there as well, Lance. There's a real camber to the road, and it's really severe, and I think they do that deliberately. And I'd pulled across the road, put it into reverse, went to reverse back, and I hadn't quite got my biting point. I rolled fractionally. And he marked me down for it. And the only reason he marked me down for it, he said, was because he was determined to get me on something. And that really put me on. So, but other than that, I had a flawless test. So I did all right. And I mean, I have no idea if I got marked down for anything on my US test. They don't bother telling you. No. It's either you passed or you haven't, you know. And she didn't even tell me that until I asked. Well,
with the motorbike test, I spent the week doing a course first. The first day, I'm riding around a playground, riding around cones and the like, and I think that I was pretty much twice the age of the next person that was doing the test. Everybody else was like 18, 19 years old. I'm riding around it. But the kids didn't have the concept of clutch control. They didn't know how to do things slowly, and it was quite embarrassing, actually. It was a fantastic week, though. It's a lot of fun to spend a week just riding a motorbike.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest. I had a motorbike accident when I was 18, which I still suffer from problems with now. So it kind of put me off motorbikes for life. And,
That's not the one where you stack Gary's bike, is it?
Well, I did stack Gary's bike, but this was actually where Gary stacked Gary's bike with me on the back of it.
Oh, coming up past the mill by the river. Where is it? Denford. Was that it?
It was actually heading out to that little village that Shell and Bob used to live at.
Hargrave.
Hargrave, that's it. Yeah, it was heading out to Hargrave, just heading out of Rawn's, and we came round a corner and slid on a patch of ice and went down like a bag of spanners and rode for 30, 40 foot.
I can remember the time we were at my house, and there was you, me, and Gary there, wasn't there?
Uh-huh.
And you wanted to pop down your house to get something, so you convinced Gary to let you take his bike, And then
That's right.
when you came back, Gary said, "Oh, how did you find the bike?" You went, "Yeah, it's great, but I think you need a new front. Oh, what are they called? Fenders? No."
Uh-huh.
And he says,
Wing.
"Oh, yeah, very funny, very funny." And then you just held up this piece of fiberglass to him, and all the colour just drained out of his face.
Do you know, the worst thing about that was I was doing about 6 miles an hour at the time because it was quite a sharp turn at the bottom of that hill.
Yeah.
And I turned, leant into it, and I hit a patch of gravel and my front wheel just went from underneath me. And that wouldn't have done any damage. It was the fact that I was a few foot from a car and slid into the car and hitting the car, cracked all the fairing and broke
That's
it
it,
off.
fairing, not fender.
Bollocks, yeah. He was pretty cool about it. Gary always was. He was pretty easygoing. So, and like I say, and worst thing was, I mean, the accident we had, we were probably doing 50 or 60 mile an hour when we came off, and it did less damage. All it did was it ground his clutch lever down to a fine point, like a knife. Other than that, it did no damage really.
Was it the
I
same
came
bike?
off at 6 mile an hour and trashed his fairing.
Was it the same bike?
Yeah. Little Honda NSR 125.
That was it. It was an NSR. Yeah, I was trying to think what it was. Red, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Very red.
You're listening to Dumbed Down Life.
My plan now is I have my regular driving license. I've got to get hold of a copy of my UK driving record, which should be entertaining. I have no idea how to get hold of that. But once I have that, I'm taking a Class A CDL license course over here, which is the equivalent of the UK HGV license. And I've managed to find a local community college that does it. Because normally, I mean, you go and do these companies that do it, and they want like $4,000 to do the fucking course. This community college, it's like $650, and you spend 8 weeks doing the course, and you get your CDL license at the end of it. And then I'm going to go do some long distance trucking for a little while, go and earn some decent cash.
So what's your driving record? What does that mean then?
Well, basically, to apply for your CDL, you have to have a 7-year driving record, providing you're old enough to have 7 years of driving record, of course. And it basically just lists when you pass your test, where you pass your test, and if you have any endorsements or anything like that on your record.
So yours should just say you passed at this date then, really, shouldn't it?
Well, you see, this is my argument. I've been discussing this with the guys at this CDL place. And I explained to them, look, you know, I don't have a US driving record. I've just passed my US test, so I've got like a 3-day fucking record. And they're like, yeah, well, you'll need a 7-year record. And I'm like, well, if I was 35 and a US citizen and I just passed my test, I wouldn't have a 7-year driving record. And they're like, no, well, you'll need to provide us with a UK driving record. And I'm like, well, why? That doesn't make any fucking sense. I mean, it's completely irrelevant. You know, I mean, the UK has no jurisdiction over the US, and the US has no jurisdiction over the UK, so it's completely bloody irrelevant, you know, but they reckon they do anyway.
And they won't recognise what the format of the paperwork is, and it'll, good luck with that.
Tell me about it. I actually think I'm going to ring up and speak to someone else, somebody who maybe has a fucking head on their shoulders, and just say, look, man, I've just passed my driving test. I don't have 7 years of US record. What am I supposed to do? You know? Because, I mean, getting my UK record is going to be a pain in the arse. Because obviously I'm in the US now. I can't exactly, you know, drop down to the DVLA and speak to them. And I don't know.
You might be able to do something on the web.
Well, I've had a look, actually, and no, I can't. It's completely bloody useless. I've sent them an email. Hopefully I'll get a reply. They'll explain what I need to do. But this is the DVLA we're talking about. So,
I've had replies from emails to them before about certain things, so yeah, you should get something back from them.
I hope so, eventually. But that's the plan anyway. Go and do that. Go do some truck driving for one.
Should be interesting.
We got ourselves a convoy.
Eastbound and down, rolling up and trucking. Yeah, I mean, it's more for the money, you know. I mean, you can earn quite decent money doing long-distance truck driving. So
You start playing teddy bear dude and I'm
so that
leaving.
we can pay off, you know, some of the shit we've incurred through the whole visa and going backwards and forwards to England, and save some money for a house and stuff like that. So, and you know me, I mean, I love to drive anyway, so I've got no problem with that.
No, I'm back on 2 wheels at the moment, and I'm not talking about motorcycle either. I'm cycling everywhere.
I thought you meant a unicycle with a trailer.
No, with not having the family with me at the moment, I just don't need a car, to be honest. So going into work, I'm able to get down to the station, and for anything local, I can just cycle there.
Yeah, I suppose it don't make sense to pay for a car and all the costs that go with it, does it?
I mean, I'd give up my car because I live in Rushden and work in Wellingborough. If I was motivated enough and had no other option, I could easily cycle into work every day. That's not a problem. Everything else I need is in Rushden, so it's all within a cycle or a walking distance. The only problem I have is going up and down from Nottingham to fetch Harry.
That'd be a bit difficult all the way up there on the push point.
Well, you see, the easy option is to take the train. But I looked into it, and you actually look at the costs of... I'd need to get from Rushden to Wellingborough, so that would involve a taxi.
Mm-hmm.
Then the train to Nottingham, that would be a return ticket to Nottingham. Then a taxi from the Nottingham station to where Harry lives. Then a taxi back to Nottingham station, and another ticket for Harry to come back down to Wellingborough, then a taxi back to Rushden, and then the same again to take her back home. You add all those costs up, and it's more expensive than driving up and down in the car. It's more expensive even adding in things like insurance and tax and maintenance and stuff. It's just too expensive. It's not a viable option.
Well, I mean, that's half the problem with all these bloody tree huggers, you know. I mean, they say, everybody should give up their cars and take public transport. And, I mean, for some people, like in Darren's situation, yeah, that's practical and it works and it's probably the best option. But for a lot of us, it's simply not the best option.
No.
I mean, excluding the fact that public transport smells like piss and puke, you know, the costs involved can be quite a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, here, the public transport, it's okay, but I wouldn't want to have to get around by it, frankly.
No. Other than travelling to Nottingham, I could do without my car. Still wouldn't use public transport because it's more expensive to get a bus from Rushden to Wellingborough than it is to run my car on a daily basis. But again, it's only 5 miles, get on a bike, takes you half an hour, job done. But purely for the fact that I have to continually go up and down to Nottingham, there's no incentive for me to get rid of my car.
I mean, I have to be honest, from my point of view, even if it was cheaper and I could give up my car, I wouldn't. I mean, I love driving. I love having a car. I mean, I even drive the car to Food Lion, which, as you know, Lance, is like less than half a mile away.
It is walkable, isn't it, to be honest, yes.
So even if I had the option to do so, I wouldn't give up my car. I like personal transport, you know. I have no desire to sit on a bus. You know, I mean, I'm not the most sociable person in the world anyway. So the idea of having to sit on a bus with 30 strangers who I have no interest in, who all got colds and some of them smell and some of them are probably drunk and, fuck that.
That's what your iPod's for, though, dude.
Doesn't stop the smell.
Well, it doesn't stop the smell,
exactly.
no. But you don't have to socialise with people. You can just lock your way in your own little world.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's another fucking annoyance. Sitting next to the prick with an iPod on.
Yeah.
Good old Blighty.
Hi and welcome to This Week in London. This is a podcast about my hometown and I hope you're going to enjoy it as much as I do. I love this city and I want to share in some of the things that happen here, tell you a little about what's going on, tell you what to do, what not to do, things to avoid and things to enjoy. Every couple of weeks or so I focus on something quintessentially London. Quite often I'll be sticking my nose into places where tourists won't normally go to, and trying to get under the skin of what's going on here and helping people understand where we Londoners are coming from and why we live in this magnificent city. You can find the show at www.thisweekinlondon.co.uk. Come by, have a listen, tell me what you think. Bye-bye.
I'm hoping that once I get out to the States, I'll get a motorbike. I don't really see the need for more than one car in the family.
I take it your wife already has a car, Darren?
Yep, she's already driving out there.
What's she drive?
Ford Voyager. Voyager?
Yeah.
4x4, nasty bastard. But there's a few roads out there that appreciate an off-road vehicle. So one thing you were saying about sort of the way that the tests and stuff are, the density of the traffic out there, it just doesn't compare to England at all. You can drive sometimes for hours without seeing another vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, Bob and I often go down to a place called Topsail Island, which Lance has been to. And we also go down to Wilmington, which again Lance has been to, actually.
Topsail, is that where the beach house was?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
If you drive there and you get on 40, and once you get out past Raleigh and all that lot, and you're really on the way, sometimes you can drive down that road, and it's a 2.5 hour drive, and you can drive down there and you barely see another car.
Yep.
And this is like a three-way, I mean, as you know probably, Darren, 40 goes all the way from the East Coast at Wilmington to California. It goes right across the country. And it's a big 3-lane interstate highway. And most of the time, you could drive backwards or upside down there because you ain't going to see anybody to bump into. So you're definitely right. I mean, obviously, in the cities and stuff, it's a bit more dense. But once you get out onto the highways and the interstates, sometimes it's just dead.
So when we do our road trip to Vegas, that means I'll be the only one that can't drive.
You'll be able to drive, Lance.
Yeah, you can drive if it's a hired car or whatever. You can just put your name on the insurance and you can drive. I was driving when I was out there.
And plus, I mean, a lot of personal insurances cover you for anyone you let drive your car. And as a foreign visitor on a visa waiver, which is what you'll be on, you're legal to drive for the 3 months you're out here. So
Really?
Yeah, you could have driven while you were here, except our insurance didn't cover you.
And I hadn't got my licence with me. I suspect I would have needed to have that with me for showing purposes.
Showing purposes. And here's that Lance with his amazing licence.
Show and tell.
You needed it for showing purposes. Yeah.
When I went out there in March last year, this time last year, funny enough, I wanted to drive my father-in-law's car, and he drove down to the little insurance office where the girl behind the desk knew him by name. She said, "Oh, hi, Al." And he says, I just wanted to put my son-in-law on my insurance. He said, "Yeah, sure, that's okay." "Do you want to know my name? Do you want to see my driving license?" "Oh, no, if you're a friend of ours, then you're trustworthy." They didn't want any extra money. They didn't want to see my driving license or anything. And that was it. I was covered. I mean, thankfully, we didn't have to test how well I was covered, but...
Yeah, well, I mean, like I say, a lot of policies in America are like that. They automatically cover you. I mean, I know Bob's insurance, she was with him for like 20 years, I think, since he passed his test. And they're on first names terms and stuff. And it's only now, because I've got insured, and because of the costs, that we went with somebody else, because we got an unbelievably good deal that we're still not quite sure is genuine, but yeah.
Darren, was it... I remember a story Barbara told me one time when I came down. I'm not sure if I've got the details right, but where she lived and where she worked was across the state line. And in one state you needed car insurance and in the other state you didn't.
I believe that you didn't actually need insurance. It's kind of like the old motorbike helmet thing. The insurance was not compulsory. If you got into an accident, they sued you. And that was the way it worked. But gradually, state by state, it has gone across to being the insurance is a compulsory. And Barbara just wasn't aware of that. Yeah, so she got pulled over for just a routine check or whatever it was. And she didn't have any insurance and got in trouble for it.
Do you know, it's funny. This is kind of relevant. It's Lance talking about having to show his license that made me think of it. But I was discussing with Bob the other day how growing up in England, you see all these American movies. And it was actually, we were watching Smoking a Bandit. That's what made me think of it. And you see on the movies all these state troopers who are the highway police over here. And they're all like, inbred backwards redneck idiots who can't drive, who are stupid and blah, blah, blah. And I tell you what, it's a hell of a shock when you get over here and find out that they're actually all big-ass buzzcut motherfuckers with guns. They're not dumbasses at all. They're quite fucking intimidating, I have to say. I've been stopped by the state troopers a couple of times, and they're pretty fucking intimidating.
Well, just because they're intimidating doesn't mean they're not backwards, stupid, redneck motherfuckers.
No, it's true, they may well be, but I wasn't about to ask them and find out.
So is the driving your next job aspiration, or are you still looking for work, or what are you doing?
Well, I mean, one of the main reasons I wanted my driving license is because it surprised me how many jobs over here require a driving license. Yeah. Even jobs that have nothing to do with driving, they want you to have a driving license. Now, I'd kind of like to do some driving work, because obviously if I'm going to do the truck driving, it'd be nice to have the next, 6 months to a year of driving professionally kind of thing. That I can present as part of my resume. So, yeah, I mean, I'd kind of like to do a driving job because, I mean, it's something I enjoy. I've done it before. I've worked in a courier firm and stuff like that, so I've always loved to drive. So, yeah, I'm kind of looking for something like that at the moment, but really, I'm not too fussed. As long as I don't have to flip burgers at Wendy's or work at Walmart, I'm not too worried what I do,
You don't mind delivering them, though?
Delivering what?
Burgers.
Pizzas, burgers.
Or stuff to Walmart.
Oh, yeah, I mean... Bobby actually said, why don't I get a job as a pizza delivery boy? Because, they make good tips. But I'm sorry, man. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just a stranger in a strange land. But I ain't fucking driving around with a wad of cash on me in a country like this. You know what I mean? There was a story I read a little while back, a news report. Two guys ordered a pizza. The guy turned up to deliver it, and they beat the shit out of him, killed him, and stole all the money he had. Nice. Bob's like, why don't you work as a pizza delivery guy? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, even odd jobs. I mean, obviously I've done a lot of warehouse work in my life, so I've been looking for that kind of thing, just about anything really. But even a lot of the warehouse jobs, they're jobs in the warehouse, but they want you to have a driving license. So it's just bizarre. So, I mean, that's one of the main reasons I wanted it. Plus the fact that, I've been driving since I've been here, and it's kind of a grey area as to whether I'm legal or not on my UK license, because the law in North Carolina is that once you've been a permanent resident for 3 months, you have to get a North Carolina driving license. Strictly speaking, until I got my work permit just before Christmas, I wasn't really a permanent resident. Now, the state law states that if you hold domicile in North Carolina for longer than 12 months, you're a permanent resident. But according to the immigration services, I wasn't a permanent resident. I'm what's classed as out of status. So it's only with getting my work visa that I've become officially classed as a permanent resident. So it's always been a bit of a grey area whether I'm actually legal or not. Now, my lawyer said, yeah, don't worry about it, you're fine, as long as your insurance covers you, which it did. And I've been stopped by the police twice, and they've kind of looked at my license, gone, okay, sir, have a good day.
I was always under the impression that your UK license was valid for a year, mainly because after a year, the address on your license is obviously wrong because you're not in the UK anymore. So the license becomes invalid.
Yeah, no. I mean, your UK license is still valid in the UK, but it's not in the US. It's a maximum of 3 months once you become a permanent resident. You've got 90 days to get a North Carolina license.
So the grey area is at what point you became a permanent resident, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly it. Because on one side of the thing, I should be classed as a permanent resident, but on the other side of it, I'm not classed as a permanent resident. So, and like I say, I mean, the lawyer said, don't worry about it, you're fine. And the police have stopped me twice, so they've been cool about it. So I guess technically I must have been legal, but there's no point in, running your odds, is there? You may as well get it done.
So this was the Doug's driving test show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that lasted longer than the driving test did.
Darren, let's be honest, taking a shit last night.
You can call the Dumbed Down Life crew on 07092 274 759.
You can follow us on Twitter. Our account name is Dumbed Down Life.
The email address is ddl.podshow@gmail.com. The website address is www.dumbeddownlife.com.